So, the Black Stars of Ghana, after the debacle in Brazil 2014, we missed out on Russia in 2018, but we're back. And we're back with the bang and against familiar opponents, whom we've got scores to settle with. Portugal.
Interesting.
We've got scores to settle
Oh,
with
of course,
Portugal.
we've got scores to settle with.
They beat us in
In
2014.
2014, they were actually the reason why
we
failed
didn't
to
qualify.
Make it to the
So
next
you guys have
stage.
scores to settle
Exactly.
with Portugal. One of the favorites going into the tournament, in my candid opinion.
They could be favorites, but still Ghana has, an unfinished business with Portugal. They denied us qualification in 2014.
And we're going to deny them qualification in 2020.
But it's going to be, it's going to be a blockbuster for our opening game, and it's against one of the favorites, going into the tournament. I feel is a blockbuster. It's reminiscent of what happened in 2006. We walked into that tournament, and our first game is against almighty Italy. We gave them a good fight, but in the end, we lost. I don't know if you're going to see a repetition of that.
Actually, in that tournament as well, we were drawn against Czech Republic, who were then at the time the second place team on the FIFA ranking. Portugal come into this tournament as one of the top 10 ranked teams in the world. And so it's more like everything is almost the same. And this time, the Black Stars go into a tournament with a very inexperienced team.
Very, very inexperienced.
Of the 26 that are in this team, only 2 have ever tasted the World Cup. Only 1 is a surviving member from the 2014 World Cup squad. 2 being the Ayew brothers. And they would be the foundation on which the Black Stars would need to ride on. Take it or leave it, they are the most experienced of this particular squad. And we'll go into the bit of experience when we look at the areas of the Black Stars team that we need to consider, particularly starting with the goalkeeping position.
Yeah.
But I feel the Black Stars have got a very decent squad, a young, hungry bunch of players who need to make a name for themselves, who need to lay down a marker. Maybe this World Cup might be too early for them to stamp the authority, but I'll still give them the benefit of the doubt in the fact that they knew what happened in January in Cameroon. It was a total disaster. They've got to right the wrongs of the AFCON, and there's no better stage than the World Cup to do so.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you see, there's much talked about, our failure in Cameroon. There's much talked about players that did not go, players that are supposed to be there that are not there. But I feel that we should put all that behind us. These crop of players, for me, how many of them were even in Cameroon? Majority of this team is practically a new side that have been assembled by Otuado and the technical team. This will be our 4th major World Cup. We've had the opportunity to play 12 games in the World Cup. We've won 4, we've lost 3, and we've won 4, drawn 3, lost 5, scored 13 goals, conceded 16 goals. So we have a goal deficit of -3 in the World Cup. In terms of winning percentage, I think it's good. You've played 12 games, you win 4, you lose 5, draw 3. I think that is a good winning percentage. So going into this tournament,
33.333.
exactly. Going into this tournament, yeah,
recurring figure.
exactly. Going into this tournament, I feel the Black Stars have a point to prove back home and to themselves. Some of the players have to justify the reason why they've been called up, especially the new boys in Iñaki, in Salisu, in Tariq Lamptey, in Antoine Semenyo. These guys have a point to prove, even a free Ebane, because people feel that they are there to ride on the momentum of just being there for the sake of the World Cup. But this is the tournament they will need to prove that, hey, I'm here to play for the Black Stars. And there's no better opportunity than against Portugal. Kofi, let's get into the game itself. Let's talk about the Black Stars, the potential mindset of the manager going into this game.
Well, I think that, like we've seen in almost all of the World Cup games, your first game is very crucial. To a large extent, it could boost or deflate the confidence in camp.
That's
because
true.
We are talking about potentially going up against Portugal and probably against the odds, getting that W against Portugal. It could boost massively the confidence of the boys, or hypothetically, we go into that game against Portugal and we are beating 5-0, 6-0. It could end up being disastrous. So I think that the mindset of the coach has to be go on, get a point. I don't expect us to be daring against Portugal because, listen, we've spoken at length about these European teams and the kind of technical crafts that they have in their fold. You look at the Portuguese; they are full of magicians. They are full of players who could hurt you any day. Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes. Yes. So you look at the team that you go up against, and I think that what we need to do, like we said earlier, is that we need to be a lot more compact in the midfield. We need to be solid defensively, and we need our players to keep their concentration levels for 90 minutes, because when you come up against top level of opponents, that's momentary break in concentration could end up spelling a lot of doom for you. So I think that going into this game, the mentality of the coach has to be, let's go out there, let's play our best, let's probably get a point out of that game, because technically speaking, I think that the game against Portugal is about the most difficult in the group. You understand that? You look at the Uruguayans, I think that the Uruguayans are in a bit of transition. Yes, they have very good players, but I do not think that they have much quality like the Portuguese do. So playing up against the Portuguese, let's hold what we have. If we can play for a draw, I would be very glad we played for a draw.
Since we're speaking of the coach, let's look at the elements for which he will be using. And I'm looking at a probable starting 11 we could have the Black Stars field. In all of this, we have to start with the goalkeeper. We face a situation where our top two or first choice goalkeepers were all injured. Atizigi played in the friendly, but if you look around, between both of you, who do you think should start first of all in that game against Portugal?
Well, I'll go for Atizigi. I think that I'm not too confident about Atizigi, but I think that amongst the three goalkeepers that we do have currently in the Black Star squad, he's the most experienced. He's a bit jittery sometimes, I acknowledge. I think that sometimes his decision making is a bit suspect, and the tendency for him to deal with some of the shots from distances is also quite suspect. But I think that you look at Manaf, you look at the Kotoko goalkeeper, Danlad. I think that I would go with the experience of Atizigi. But in that case, then he needs to have a shield in front of him. He needs to have a central defense that acknowledges the weakness that the goalkeeper presents, and then will do everything possible to shield the goalkeeper from getting into some of these scenarios we have earlier spoken about. Because I think that, listen, if you have I see an Amati together with Salisu pairing, potentially. If you have a defensive shield like that, what they need to do is that they need to have a lot of communication with the goalkeeper, talk with him, allow situations that they can deal with, so that the goalkeeper will be a bit at ease. You understand? Because the moment you go into a game with your goalkeeper faltering, it breeds a lot of mistrust in the whole defensive setup. You understand? So I think that I would go with Atisigi, and then instruct clearly the central defenders together with the rest of the defenders to be disciplined at what they do, so that we don't expose the goalkeeper to some of these scenarios.
I feel the reverse should be the case. You need a goalkeeper who has control over his central defenders. It shouldn't be the central defenders who rather, that's what I think. Because if you watch that game against Switzerland, I saw something that I've not seen in Atizigi. Maybe he knows that, listen, I'm the number one goalkeeper, so I saw him command, I saw him shout at the central defenders. I would wish that he would maintain that same momentum going into that game.
So it looks like the consensus here is everybody's going for Atizigi.
Because, how many games has Manaf played? And what is his record in Europe?
Even that Switzerland game, that was Atizigi's 10th cap for the Black Stars.
Exactly.
Manaf has just 3. And if he goes into that game against Portugal, that would be his 4th cup for the Black Stars.
Exactly.
And playing on the World Cup stage as your 4th cup would be too much of a difficult threat to ask.
I'm not expecting an inexperienced goalkeeper on the world stage. We cannot throw him, Listen, no matter what we may say about Wallacott, he garnered a lot of experience playing for the Black Stars throughout the friendlies, major African tournament. He was there. this is not a time to want to, experiment with or gamble, like Kofi is saying with Manaf. I think that it's a consensus. We all feel that Lawrence Atizigi, he in a way justified his inclusion against Switzerland, though that may not be the right opportunity to clearly feel that he deserves a number one spot. But I think in the midst of what we have, Lawrence Atizigi is about the best option.
Let's look at the right backs. Dennis Odoi and then Tariq Lamptey. Quite a tough pick in my opinion, because if you look at Odoi, he's been one of the most consistent defenders for the Black Stars since he got in. You take performances at Club Brugge. He's played every single game for Club Brugge this season. He's been a key cog in that Champions League run, for which Club Brugge have made it to the next stage of the competition. Then there's the case of Tariq Lamptey, young, energetic person who's got a drive, adds a lot to the attack, but has had to contend for most parts of the season on the bench, partly due to injuries, partly also due to the fact that Solimarch, who was playing ahead of him, has been excellent so far for Brighton. How do you balance these two? How do you put in, because we saw Lamptey, he was daring, we love to take on. You take Portugal, we could have a potential back four. Rafael Leao on the left. Potential, you could have Nuno Mendes, Rafael Leao combination down that left, or even Nuno Mendes or Rafael Guerrero, Rafael Leao.
Or even Bernardo
Silva on that end. Those are players who love to go forward. And if you have a fullback who loves to join forward,
it looks like a suicide mission.
You're salivating at the thought of pitching these guys together.
Honestly, I would go for Odoi. I think that in this scenario, I would go for the cooler, calmer head. Sorry. I've told you that I don't think that we need to be overly daring against Portugal. Yes, I mean, to win games at the World Cup, you need to show some level of daring. Yeah, I mean, some level of being daring, you understand? But I don't think that we overly need to commit in that regard in terms of our fullback going forward in that particular game. So I would rather go with the experience of Dennis Odoi. I think that he offers a calmer head. Anytime I see him, he's somebody who gets the job done. He's not flashy, he's not flamboyant, he gets the job done, and done well. So I would go with him. I would go with Odoi.
For some reason, this game, I think that whoever Otuado decides to select should be down to the tactical formation or the tactical, deployment he puts out there on the pitch, because there's a clear distinction between what Odoi offers and what Tariq offers. Tariq, there have been countless occasions he's played. I've seen him play in the 5-2-3-1, for Brighton, in the 4-3-3, 4-3-2-1. I feel that Tariq is more experienced playing at the highest level of football than Odoi. Listen, but for the Black Stars, how many of us knew Odoi? But consistently, we've seen Tariq play against the best of the best in the Premier League, the best of the best, across the Premier League, across varying teams that set up in varying ways. If you need somebody who can say, I'm not afraid to go for it. We saw Tariq against Switzerland. I've seen Tariq play countless times. He's not afraid to take on defenders. He may be very, has a diminutive figure, very like me, but he's very strong, he's very quick. We need somebody like that in occasions where you would need that fullback who would quickly dash at a pass. I think that, Tariq is the guy. Yes, I agree perfectly with you that Odoi has a calm head. His decision making is spot on. But I think that, Charlie, as much as we want to be very pragmatic and be a bit defensive and be a bit, careful, I think that this Portuguese team is not as explosive as we think they are. And you see, if you are going into a game where even with your setup, your opponent can easily read that you're a bit scared or you're scared of them, clearly that at the back of their mind, let's go at Ghana. But if in the first 10 minutes, they know that, we have a game on our hands, trust me, they'll be a bit cautious, because if they attack, Ghana is attacking. If they defend, Ghana is defending. They know that we are well set up defensively, attacking. They will be a bit, cautious when they are throwing bodies up front. I think that, listen, let's not be too defensive minded. We can go at this Portuguese. You guys saw them against the Nigerians. The Nigerians took the approach Kofi decided. I mean, wish that we can take. I mean, being a bit defensive with all the attacking quality the Nigerians had. They were very, very defensive, in my honest opinion. And the Portuguese tore them apart 4-0. That is not what we would want. So I would wish for a Tariq Lamptey.
Well, let me be honest with you. You see, you talk about the fact that the Portuguese are not too explosive. I mean, maybe you are insulating the emotions of Ghanaians. They are explosive.
They are not too explosive.
Let me tell you
Stop
something. Listen. Truth of the matter is that 1v1 against the Nigerian team, they have a better team than us. You understand? We are talking about a Nigerian team that has a stellar quality in terms of the attacking unit. You understand? But you look at how the Portuguese tore them apart, even in the midfield, with the likes of the Ndidis. Even listen. If we do dare go toe-to-toe with the Portuguese,
but
it will be a suicide mission.
We'll go toe-to-toe, but let's complete the back line, and then I'll come to that area of the midfield, because that's one area of contention.
The back line is done.
For the back line, it's done. About take the left full back.
I guess we all agree.
The pairing of Salisu and Amati.
The midfield is a key area I have lots of interest in. There's Thomas Partey.
Yeah.
There's Elisha Owusu.
Yeah.
There's Salih Samed. Now, Salih Samed averages, if you look in the French league, he's one of the top passers.
That's true.
He averages the most interceptions in this RC Lens team. They're currently second place in the league. Playing very well. You take Thomas Partey. He's literally the Arsenal.
He's the best player we have.
That Arsenal have ridden on all throughout the Premier League season. Then there's Elisha Owusu,
who was stellar,
excellent against
Switzerland.
Let's not forget, there's the variable of Mohamed Kudus that is yet to come to the mix. Ideally, if you watch Otuado all throughout the games he's coached, he's either going for a 4-3-3, a 3-4-3, or a 3-5-2.
Or in games,
or even 4-2-3-1.
In the game against Switzerland, he actually opted for a 4-2-3-1. The game against was it Nicaragua? He chose a 4-1-2-3 formation. So it's, it depends on the opposition. Otuado, we cannot, pinpoint what his
top coach.
But which pair do we go with against Portugal? Because Portugal have a lot of Arsenal. You look at the Portuguese midfield on paper, it looks salivating. You look at players, they are able to hold on to the ball, players who are able to find spaces in tight corners, players who are able to read and play the passes. So you look at all of this, just opposed to what you have. Salis is a very good interceptor of the ball. Salis Partey is one of the players who has the ability to spot passes. He has the ability to drive forward. Do you go with that combination? Do you go with Elisha, who is cool, calm, collected, doesn't love to get involved in the tackles, but knows how to pick the passes when Salis has broken up play? Which combination do we go for?
Okay,
sorry, I'll go for the 3.
You're playing the 3?
Yes, I'll play the 3.
That's a bold call.
Yes, I'll play the 3. You know why? We could potentially be going up against William Carvalho.
Yeah.
And for anyone who has watched a lot of Spanish football this season, he's about one of the best holding midfielders in the league, you understand? That has done an excellent job with Real Betis. They are playing very well. And you look at the other qualities that the Portuguese do have. I think that we need people who can break up play and then pass the ball quickly. I would say so because I think I've seen enough of Thomas Partey to think that he's adaptable to playing in another role in the midfield. Because if you have calm heads, and I would not want to discount the efforts of Elisha Owusu against Switzerland, because we spoke about the Swiss, one of the teams that had to knock out France in the Euros, the defending world champions in the Euros, were in the same group with Italy. Italy did not make it to the World Cup. So obviously when you played against the Swiss, we think that it will be a very good template to switch over to the Portuguese game. Then play Salis and Elisha also in that 2 pivots, you understand? Then push Partey forward.
So you are looking at a 4-2-3-1.
I am looking at that formation. I think I push Partey forward. I don't know where Kudus comes in. I don't know.
When a 4-2-3-1, Kudus can easily slot in.
play in the false number 9 role. I think that in that particular game, play Kudus in the false number 9 role. Let Inaki.
So let me help you out. So you have Elisha Owusu and Salis as a double pivot.
Yes.
Now the 3 midfielders that will be behind Iñaki will be Partey, Kudus in that central midfield role as that schema in there. And you could decide to play Andre Ayew out on the left.
Andre Ayew play Inaki,
or even Andre Ayew, any of them. So according to Kofi 4-2-3-1.
Wide, then play Kudus through the middle.
Yep.
Because if you are dealing with the Portuguese, I think that the one thing that we can hurt the Portuguese has to be our movement. If you go into that game with a striker who is static, Diaz together with whoever he pairs with, I mean, if it's my good day, the 40-year-old guy, Pepe, they will have a field day. You have to confuse them with movement. So if I were the coach, I would play somebody like Kudus as a false 9 for that particular game because of the kind of movement he offers. You understand? Then play that 3 midfield. Let Partey be the most advanced of the midfielders. Then we see what happens.
I think I would side with Kofi. The only exception might be the starting of Jordan Ayew. Because if you look at this Portuguese setup, if you look at the fullbacks, Joao Cancelo would most definitely start on the right.
Yep.
And there's going to be either Nuno Mendes or Rafael Guerrero. If you take the two, their weakness has got to be the fact that both are attacking oriented.
Exactly.
And whenever they move forward, they leave lots of spaces behind. This is where you need a player of the ilk of Kamaldeen Sulemana. He's daring enough. He loves to run forward. He loves having spaces. We saw what he did the moment he came on against Switzerland. He took the ball to Sylvain Widmer. He went past him with ease. Kamaldeen is a sort of player who loves to have space behind fullbacks. So if you play, for example, Iñaki on the other end, Cancelo would most definitely surge forward. He will leave that space behind. The last thing you would want is having Ruben Diaz 1v1 with Iñaki Williams, having Pepe 1v1, because when the fullbacks push up, there'll be spaces left in either areas, and it's the onus lies on the centre backs to either draw out wide and come and take on the attacker, or have to stay back, and that leaves them in a very precarious position. So I would play Kamaldeen Sulemana on right, play Iñaki Williams on left. You would have them most definitely have those opportunities, a 1v1, surrender possession. Now the Partey bit playing as a number 10, it has an extra bite, because when you don't have possession, then Partey can join the pivot of Salih Samed and Elisha Owusu. That adds more compact in the midfield.
I think that we are going to have about 3 different formations or tactical deployment here, because I feel that we should set up in a 4-1-4-1 formation, and it will be as effective as the personnel on the pitch. I always say every formation or tactical deployment, its effectiveness is in the men who are tasked to do the job. So you can go for a 4-2-3-1, but if the men do not suit that formation, it's practically amounts to nothing. Now, this is how I would have wished we would set up. We already know how our back four would be. Elisha Owusu will be that holding midfielder. Now, the 4 men, you're going to have practically Salis and Partey, who add that attacking vibe to the team, the attacking instinct to the team. They're also very good passing. We need that ability. Somebody who can thread, put a pass through the eye of a needle. Somebody, when Portugal decide to hold their lines very well, somebody who can break the line with certain passes. Now, the other 2 men who will be behind the lone striker would be Kudus, and surprisingly, I would want to side with Kamaldeen. Then you have somebody like Iñaki Williams up front because of his pace. Now, I decided to go for Kamaldeen. I would have wished that I would have gone for Jordan, because I feel that sometimes you need a player who can hold that play very well, and Jordan does that perfectly well. We've seen him do that at Crystal Palace. His ability to hold that play and draw fouls. We will need those things, because there are times when the Portuguese will want to run at us. You need somebody who will draw these fouls at these crucial, moments. Now, when Ghana is in possession of the ball, a 4-1-4-1 formation, that's very attacking. When we lose the ball, the 4 men who are behind the striker will join the midfield to become a 4-5-1, very compact midfield. So whilst when we are in transition, we look very attacking, when we lose the ball as well, we are very compact in the middle. My danger and fear with the 4-2-3-1 is that when you lose the ball, the shape of the midfield, you need very disciplined players. The shape of the midfield practically converts into a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
That's the disadvantage with the 4-2-3-1. The shape of the midfield converts to a 4-3-3, and that is not what we want, because you talked about Bernardo Silva. These guys can play within spaces. Rafael Leao, Bruno Fernandes, he thrives with having space in the middle. We talk about Nuno Mendes and all of these guys. We cannot afford them the luxury of having the ball in the middle of the park to do what they want. So I feel that, listen, there are varying ways we could set up, and we've all shared our views, but clearly we are all talking about being very compact in the middle and taking advantage of the little spaces that are left by the Portuguese when they bump forward. We've talked a lot about Ghana, Portugal.
Dangerous.
Come on,
dangerous.
Don't scare our viewers.
For anybody who thinks that Portugal is not going to be dangerous, I'm telling you, brace yourselves up for danger.
Kofi, let me run by you these figures by the Portuguese.
They have a 37-year-old leading the line, and he can't even run in a 45-meter dash.
Let me tell you something. With the Portuguese and their whole affection with Cristiano Ronaldo, or their whole charm with Cristiano Ronaldo, these players, if you look through the Portuguese team, they have played together consistently for minimum 4 years.
Since 2016.
I am telling you, minimum 4 years. So if you look at the team, 90% of the team,
that's actually
they
true.
have a lot of chemistry.
That's true.
And they have learned to play with Cristiano Ronaldo.
That's true.
They have embraced him. The same way we talk about the Argentines and their love for Messi, wanting to see Messi. They play for Ronaldo.
That's true.
So if you look at how Santos sets his team up, typically he sets the team up to the strength of Cristiano Ronaldo.
That's true.
What they do is that they have tailored measured passes, they have crosses, they have all of those other things that they could do.
That's very true.
Yes, to hit opponents.
That's true.
And so you might think Ronaldo is 37, he's going to 38 in February, but you look at this Portuguese team, let me tell you something. Even when Ronaldo is not effective, they have more than found equal replacement. There's Andre Silva in there. Yes.
Let me help you with the squad they played, the lineup against Nigeria. So he decided to go for a 4-1-3-2 formation. That's when they are in possession of the ball. When they lose the ball, it becomes a 4-3-1-2 with Andre Silva and João Felix as the two strikers, with Bruno Fernandes playing just behind them, and he recorded 2 assists. He was the man of the match in that game. We cannot afford that guy's space with Bernardo Silva, William Carvalho, and Octavio. The usual suspect were Diego Dalot, Silva, Ruben Diaz, and Mendes. But this is not going to be the start line, because obviously Andre Silva will give way for Cristiano Ronaldo. I feel João Felix will start. So it's actually going to be a 4-1-4-1 formation, because they are all going to play through Cristiano Ronaldo, exploiting the pace of Bernardo Silva and Rafael Leao on the wing. So clearly, you spoke about the Portuguese, Kofi. In 10 games that they've played, they've won 7, lost 2, drawn 1. You know how many goals they've scored in the process?
I'm sure 14
goals in the process. And in games that they've lost by just a single margin. And they lost against teams that are very, very strong opposition, Spain and Switzerland. Just these 2 games.
Ghana beat Switzerland. Hey, we can beat
football doesn't work that way.
Football is never logic. Yeah.
Before we probably round up and all, what do you think Otu Addo should avoid in this game?
Complacency.
What about you?
I think we have got to be cautious. We shouldn't be overly confident. In as much as we have a very good team, in as much as we have players who can head this Portuguese team, play it safe. If you don't lose the first game, what it does for you is that you have the momentum to build on. Kofi mentioned the fact that you wouldn't want to go into a deflated dressing room and having to chase the pack.
Yeah.
Many have touted this group as one of the group of death. And
for me, it is.
The last thing you would want is to lose the match on your opponents. So don't go chasing the games against South Korea and Uruguay. It would be as good as dead.
Practically, you and Kofi are speaking the same language. You should guard against complacency. Make sure he picks his moment and takes advantage. I feel, listen, for once, you know my stance on Ghana. For once, I feel Ghana should be daring. He shouldn't try to be a coward in this game. He should guard against cowardice because, like I said, in the first 10 minutes, if Portugal can see from the shape of the team, if Santos can see from the shape of the team that Ghana is scared, they will tear us apart. And that is what I feel he should guard against.
Predictions?
Ghana,
Scoring draw.
Ghana 0, Portugal 4.
Scoring draw.
Ghana 0.
Portugal 4.
That's like a handicap win for Portugal.
I don't care how you see it, but that's what I feel.
For the Panthers, there's the two sides of the coin. You can either decide to be patriotic.
Go with your heart or go with your head.
Go with your heart or go with your head. So if you're a Panther, I'd go this way. Going with your head, give Ghana a handicap 2-0 win.
Whoa.
Give Ghana a handicap 2-0 win. Because whatever the case, the Black Stars will score a goal.
Will score.
So give Ghana a handicap 2-0 win. Stake it with quite a huge amount and you'll be smiling.
David.
If you want to be patriotic, you can go for the Ghana straight win. But I will go with the Ghana handicap. Because I know in the end of the day, the Black Stars will draw this one.
So David says the Black Stars are not losing. But guys, we want to do this with you and we are doing this with you. We are shooting from Red Mango.